Yes, Prayaga. Yes, Prayaga.
Hello.
Yes, Amma. You can share your screen, your PPT. All of it. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Prayaga, you can share your PPT now.
Yes, sir. I'm just saying, sir. Sharing, sir.
Okay.
Is it visible, sir?
No, Amma.
Right. Not visible. It's on, sir. I
You are
shared
sharing
the
from
screen.
laptop or mobile?
So actually, there is problem in my earphone, so I cannot connect it.
Okay. Carry on.
Is it visible, sir? My screen?
Yeah, visible, but your mobile screen only visible.
Okay, sir. Once again, I'm trying.
Okay.
So now is it visible? Hello?
Yeah, it's visible, Amma.
It's visible now, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. And audio is good, na, sir?
Yeah, it's good only. Just give me a few seconds because I'm trying to live, but there is some problem with live. Actually, another class is going on in another portal. So just a minute, I
Okay.
will try it.
Okay, sir. No problem. No problem. I just wanted to confirm whether it was audible or not.
Just a minute. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No problem.
Okay, ma'am, we will start now. I will check it. No issue. We will start.
Okay, sir. So students have joined. Hello, everyone. I am Pragya Barnwal from PhD. I am a PhD scholar from. Hello, everyone. I am Pragya Barnwal. I am a PhD scholar in JNKVV Jabalpur. And today we will be dealing with the topic integrated pest management. It is a very basic lecture which I have prepared for you, and topics which I am going to cover in today's class are origin of integrated pest management concept, then the 3 phases of pest control, evolution of IPM program, then some classical definitions of IPM. We will discuss some classical definition of IPM, need of IPM, what is the need of IPM, what are the principles of IPM, what are the objectives, what are the concepts, and what are the requirements for a successful conduct of pest management. And lastly, we will discuss the advantages of IPM. So coming to our first slide, that is the origin of IPM concept. How here we will discuss how the concept of IPM came into origin. Okay. So the first benchmark was in the year 1939 when Hoskins et al. Conceived the idea of integrated control. Here, what you have to bear in mind, the word idea. In SRF or ZRF exams, they will twist the questions with these simple words, and students usually get confused with these things. Whenever you have to remember each and every bit very carefully, like idea of integrated control was conceived by, so the answer will be the Hoskins et al. Meanwhile, he also said that biocontrol and chemical control are having a supplementary relationship between them. You know the meaning of supplementary relationship? That they will supplement each other, they will help each other, they will help each other in enhancing their abilities. When we will apply the biocontrol solely on the field level and chemical control solely, how much effective they will be, when we will combine both approaches, it will enhance the effectivity of both approaches. Then next year is the 1952 when Michael, Baker and Bacon first used the term integrated control. They were working on the codling moth that is Cydia pomonella, and they coined the term. They first used the term integrated control. Hoskins et al. Conceived the idea of integrated control, and Baker and Bacon coined the term integrated control. They use the term integrated control. So this thing you have to always bear in mind. These short differences will help you gaining the marks accurately. Next, in the year 1954, Smith and Allen, they proposed the concept that whatever resources we are having available in our surrounding, we have to integrate it into us. We have to integrate it for a control approach and approach for the economic insect control, so that we can avoid our economic losses. Whatever resources we are having, we have to utilize everything in a manner, in a combined manner, so that we can avoid the economic losses. So from here, the integration, the concept of integration started. Next, in 1959, Stern et al., he first defined integrated control as applied pest control, which combines and integrates biological and chemical control. Okay, so now the thing is, first we saw that integrated control, the idea of integrated control was conceived by Hoskins et al. Okay, then the term was used by Baker and Bacon. Then the Stern et al. In 1959, he defined this term. He gave definition of the term integrated control. Next is, I hope that you people would be knowing the difference between control and management. If somebody is there who can tell me the difference between the control and management, can unmute yourself and just tell me. Hello? Okay, let's continue. What's the difference between the control and management? Control means complete suppression of a complete killing of a particular insect species, or whatever is our target organism. When we completely suppress it, then it becomes the control. And what is the meaning of management? We, in the terms of entomology, we refer management as maintaining the population below the economic level so that it cannot damage our crop. We have to manage population in our crop. That is the basic concept of IPM. That's why we do not say that integrated pest control. We always refer it as integrated pest management, because we have to manage. We have not to kill all the population which is present there. We have to manage the insect population below a certain level so that our economic damage can be avoided. Next is in 1966. And one more thing, the idea of managing insect population, they proposed, Geer and Clark proposed the idea of managing insect population, and they referred it as protective population management. At that time, they referred it as protective population management. And in 1966, Geer renamed it as integrated pest population management. And from here, you can see that the integrated pest management has come into an existence. And finally, in 1972, CEQ accepted the term integrated pest management with the short form of IPM. Now, there are three distinct phases of pest control. The whole timeline has been divided into three major phases of insect control. The first one is the time before 1938. Then that era was considered as era of traditional approach, when we used to integrate all the available traditional knowledges for managing a insect population. Whatever cultural practices, whatever mechanical practices we were having, our ancestors were having at that time, they used to combine them for for saving their crop from the insect. They also use the plant products, botanicals, biocontrol methods, everything, whatever today we will include in the indigenous traditional knowledge. Those all approaches fall under this era, were practiced under this era of traditional approaches. Now, the point to be noted here is that resistant varieties, when when resistant varieties were added to the traditional approach, when our interest shifted towards the use of resistant variety. It was from the late 18th century to the late 19th century. And then end of 19th century to beginning of 20th century, inorganic insecticides also came into the picture. Then the next era started from 1939 to 1975. Why we mark 1939 only as the beginning of the era of pesticides? We could have gone for the 1938 too. We could have gone for 1942. But we mark 1939 as the beginning of era of pesticide because it was the year when the insecticidal property of DDT was discovered. And after that, with this, I want to just ask one question that you would be knowing that who was responsible for the discovery of insecticidal property of DDT. He is very much common scientist. If anyone can say it. What is the name of that scientist? It was Paul Muller. Please remember this bit, that insecticidal property of DDT was discovered in 1939 by Paul Muller. And after discovery of insecticidal property of DDT, it was used extensively for management of, for the control of the pests. And along with that, the whole pesticide, our interest shifted towards the insecticides for the control of the pests. So different organochlorines, different organophosphates, and other synthetic pyrethroids came into picture, and we started using them extensively. And you all also know that it is the era when the Green Revolution occurred, and one of the major contributors for the Green Revolution is considered the use of insecticides that helped in boosting the agricultural production very much. But with that, there were some disadvantages too associated with it. Like there were many pesticide residue cases, and pest resurgences occurred. And again, we needed to rethink about our approach of, we were forced to rethink about our approach of insect control. So from 1976 onwards, we shifted into the era of IPM. In late 1970s, IPM gained momentum, and there were two projects, Huffaker project and the CIPM project. The Huffaker project was the first IPM project in USA. It was the world's first IPM project, which was carried out in USA for 6 crops. Those crops name has been mentioned here, that is alfalfa, citrus, cotton, pines, palm, stone fruits, and soybean. The next project is the CIPM, that is Consortium of Integrated Pest Management, and it occurred from 1979 to 1985, and it helped in the IPM developing the IPM modules for the 4 crops, that is alfalfa, apple, cotton, and soybean. Now, next is how an IPM program can be evaluated, how it comes into existence. Okay, so it is divided into 6 different phases. IPM program cannot be developed in a single day. Like like in case of insecticides, we will discuss after the discovery of the insecticidal molecule, they will formulate it and you have to just spray it. But it is not applicable with the IPM program. You have to explore different tactics. You have to explore right integration time, like at what stage you can use what kind of approach for the effective for the best management of that pest. Okay, so the first phase includes single tactic phase. In this phase, we just identify the single pest associated with a crop, and what tactic can be useful for that particular single pest. We will identify those tactics along with the pest it targets. Okay, then the second phase comes multiple tactic phase. Okay, so we will use variety of tactics for the manipulation of pest population. We already shorted that this tactic is effective for this pest. Okay, so now in the next phase, we will combine those tactics. Okay, and we have to integrate that at what time we will follow which tactic, and at what time our insect is coming, which of our insect is coming, and how we can integrate it. Then the next phase is biological monitoring phase. This is monitoring of pests, natural enemies, and host on timely basis. It is very important for the development of an IPM program, because without monitoring, you cannot do anything. If you will not monitor when pest is coming, when natural enemies is coming, when what is its relationship with the host, you would have studied the triangle, that famous triangle of in the crop protection, which goes pest, natural enemy, host, and environment in the middle, and connected the three corners of the triangle surrounded by the pest, natural enemies, and host. So this thing, what I'm saying, if we have to monitor that how the pest is associated with the host, and how the natural enemies are associated with the pest, this forms the tritrophic interaction. We have to keep our monitor, keep our check upon the tritrophic interaction. We have to just keep monitoring the interaction between these three elements on timely basis. Then the next phase is the modeling phase. After getting the data from the monitoring of the pests, natural enemies, and host, we have to move towards the modeling phase. We will draw many pictorial things, flow charts, mathematical. We will apply many mathematical models, whatever is available for the. Sometimes we will formulate new mathematical models with those interaction, population dynamics studies, and all these things. And then we will generate the data, and we will integrate it into the pest management systems. Then the next phase comes management or optimization phase. This is where we are going to integrate our findings till now from the single tactic phase to the modeling phase. Whatever we found, we have to apply it. We have to make it functional. We have to give it a shape of a functional IPM system. Then after developing the functional IPM system, we have to go for its implementation. This is the ultimate phase. Optimal systems are delivery to and utilization by the farmers. Next are some definitions of IPM. Here, the first two bits, you have to learn it line by line, because these are the two very authenticated definition of IPM, and each and every word in these definition matters. The first definition is of FAO 1972, that says that IPM is a system that is in context of associated environment and the population dynamics of the pest species, utilizes all suitable techniques. It utilizes all suitable techniques and methods in as compatible manner. See, these definitions are holistic definition of IPM. It is covering all the aspects, whatever is included in the IPM. So IPM is a system that in the context of associated environment and the population dynamics of a pest species utilizes all suitable techniques and methods in as compatible manner as possible and maintains the pest population at levels below those causing economic injury. The last line is very much important for understanding the concept of IPM, and it is the only basis for the concept of IPM on which it is laid. We have to always manage the pest population at some level below that can cause economic injury, where whatever level of the pest population in the crop is there, which can damage our crop in economical terms, we have to maintain the population level below that. Now, the next definition is given by Office of Technology Assessment, US Congress in 1990. It is also a very good definition. You can consider it, and you can even put it in your answers, and it will help you in a very good manner in written exams too. Like the optimization of pest control measures in an economically and ecologically sound manner, accomplished by the coordinated use of multiple tactics. Here, these words are very much important: coordinated use of multiple tactics to assure stable crop production and to maintain pest damage below the economic injury level, whilst minimizing hazards to human, animal, plants, and environment. See, till 1990, the sustainable development concept came into existence, and it has been associated with the definition of the IPM in this definition. Now, the concluding remark is that the IPM is a system of management of pest population, utilizing all suitable techniques harmoniously and blending them in a compatible manner so as to minimize the pest population to levels below those causing economic injury level, or to manipulate the population in such a way as to prevent them from causing such injury. So concluding the definitions of IPM, we have to move to the next slide that deals with the need of IPM. Why IPM is needed? What was the demand that we were forced to move towards thinking about the IPM approach? The first force which pushed us towards the IPM was resistance development against insecticide. You are familiar, being an entomology student, you would be familiar with the things, with the examples of development of insecticide resistance. Recently, one pest, this is your homework, that you will search about it, about the examples of insecticide resistance development. Then the next point comes pest resurgence. What does pest resurgence means? Like, we suppressed an insect population by using a lot of insecticides, okay? And due to that, the natural enemies also got killed, okay? Then natural enemies also got killed. And after certain time, when we stopped applying the chemicals, the pest again reverts back because of absence of natural enemies. This is the pest resurgence. Next is secondary pest outbreak. Also, it also pushed us to think about the IPM approach. This is very much important. Like a secondary pest outbreak, those pests which were not even minor pests turned into the major pest. This is the thing which defines the term secondary pest outbreak. Then the fourth point comes destruction of beneficial insect. See, destruction of beneficial insect affects you in two manners. One term is beneficial insect affects you in two manners. Okay, the first thing is due to loss of beneficial insect, we lose our ability to naturally control the pest. So therefore the incidence of pest resurgence increases in more amount. Okay, then comes the residues in food and forage. Residues in food and forage, obviously, whenever we use different insecticides, like especially organochlorines, organophosphates, carbamates, these are having a high residual value, and these remain their molecules remains in the food as residue, and whenever we consume it, our animals consume the forages on which these insecticides have been sprayed, then it harms us, it harms our animals. So those foods are not safe for consumption purpose. Then the next point for the need of IPM, justifying the need of IPM, is contamination and environmental problem. This is very much important. Like you would be familiar with the biomagnification thing, which is the clear-cut indication that if we will use a lot of chemical control, then where the consequences will lead us. Hazards to person involved in application, domestic animals and wildlife. Obviously, there are some spray drifts occurs, and whosoever is concerned with the spraying of the field application of those insecticide is directly exposed to those insecticide. It got absorbed. It gets absorbed into our body, and it harms it in any way. It harms in it that person in a very dreadful way. Then the next is expense of pesticide involving cost, labor, and equipment. It is too much for a normal farmer to bear. It increases the cost of cultivation to a very much large extent. Now, the principles of IPM. On what principles IPM has been laid? So here, the first point is identification of key pest and beneficial organisms. You have to identify. Without identification, you cannot do. If you don't know my name, how you will search me in a group of people? You cannot search me if you have not seen my face and you know only my name. Only then it will be easy. Just think of a condition when you don't know me, okay? And if I will say ki, if somebody says ki search Pragya from a group of people, so will you be able to search me if you are not able to identify me? Therefore, we have to identify the key pest. Which pest is damaging the crop? In what manner it is damaging? And what are the beneficial organisms associated with it? How we can exploit it? Then next will be the defining the management unit, the agro ecosystem, where we are going to apply this management practice, whatever our IPM we are going to follow, where or design, where we have to apply, because IPM is a totally environmental concept. Like it is integration of all the resources. We have to keep the environment into mind. We have to keep available resources into mind. So we have to focus more upon agro ecosystem. It is not a particularly strictly defined module. It varies from the requirements and availability, or it varies according to the different factors like availability of resources, whatever climatic conditions are there, whatever pests are there, how pest and host are interacting with each other. Therefore, defining the management unit is very much necessary. Then the third step is development of management strategy. Now, after identification of key pests and beneficial organisms, and defining the management unit, you have to go for the development of management strategy, because you have the basic data, like what pest you have to target, what management unit you have to you are dealing with. So then you can go for the development of management strategy. It's okay that you have developed the whole IPM module, but now the question comes when to apply it. The whole IPM starts with the beginning of it's not a single day application. It is carried out throughout the crop life. We have to establish a ETL level. Without ETL, IPM is nothing. That is economic threshold level. Okay. And how the population, next is the development of assessment technique, how the population of an insect, that how the economic damage will be assessed. You have to develop proper assessment techniques for the damage of the crop, for the pest population, of your interest. That is the how much pest population you will consider as the ETL level. Then with all these available data, you have to evolving description of predictive pest models. Whatever pest models are available, you have to evolve it, and you have to evolve it according to your whatever things you identified till now. You have to evolve yourself according to that, and you have to predict. You have to see it. You have to see the forecast things too. You have to keep in mind, and then you have to define your IPM module. The next is the objective of IPM. Of IPM, the major objectives of the IPM are to reduce pest status below EIL. Below EIL, why it is, till now we have been dealing with the term ETL, but in definitions also you would have noticed this term economic injury level. So ETL is the level where after when pest population exceeds that ETL level, it can cause economic damage. Okay, and EIL is the highest level when after exceeding which the even then if you will apply the control measures, it will not be effective. So you have to always maintain the pest status below EIL. It's better to start the management practices at ETL so that the pest population doesn't reaches EIL, and you have to always reduce the pest status below the EIL, because after when pest population exceeds EIL, it has already caused economic damage, economic loss. Then the second objective is management through preventing feeding, multiplication, and dispersal. We have not only to focus upon the killing of the insect, we have to employ different tactics which can prevent the feeding of insect, multiplication of insect, and even it can affect the dispersal of insects, so that in a future, in a sustainable manner, we can get the effective control. Then third objective is the using eco-friendly methods. It helps in the nature conservation, and helps in reducing the problems of the environmental pollution and everything. Then the fourth one is to make maximum use of mortality factors. I said na, in IPM, like in previous slides we dealt with. In principles of IPM, we were saying na, ki we have to identify all those factors. We have to monitor the biological. We have to, I discussed in previous slide the tritrophic interaction, in which we have to monitor the biological monitoring. So we have to monitor the host, pest, and the natural enemy interaction. And with that, we will identify whatever mortality factors are operative in the field condition, and we have to apply those control measures when needed. And then the last objective is to use components of sustainable food production. It is very much important. The second definition that was given by the Office of Technology Assessment also included this sustainable approach into their definition. So this also becomes a major objective of IPM. Now, next are the concepts of IPM. In concepts of IPM, the first one is the development of the understanding of the agricultural ecosystem. It is very much important concept. Like what is the agroecosystem contains? We all know that agroecosystems contain lesser diversity of animal and plant species than forests. Therefore, it is intensively manipulated by humans and subjected to sudden alterations like plowing, treatment with pesticides. Therefore, it is more susceptible to pest damage. So we have to understand the agricultural ecosystem. Then next concept is the planning the agroecosystem. You have to plan, like if you have identified that just for example, that in soybean crop there is a potato leaf hopper. Okay, there is potato leaf hopper, that is Impoasca fabi, that damages soybean crop too. Okay, so there are some varieties which are of pubescent type. They are resistant to this leaf hopper. So we have to plan our agro ecosystem for the management of this leaf hopper in such a manner. We have to include those varieties into our, while planning the agro ecosystem, like whatever crop we are going to grow, that we have to plan accordingly, like which pest we want to manage, whatever is the major problem we are facing. According to that, we have to decide, we have to plan our agro ecosystem. We have to never prefer the susceptible varieties. We have to never prefer the susceptible crop. Then the third concept comes into existence, that is the cost benefit and benefit risk. Farmers are more concerned about the cost benefit. They have always, actually, that is the only thing about which the farmers have to consider, because that is the economical aspect. Now, everyone works for some earnings, and that is their livelihood. So they are more concerned about the cost and benefit. So it depends on various kinds of decision, like it varies with the crop produce, method of production, geographical location, and production units. And cost benefit ratio should always be less than 1. Therefore, application of pesticides affects the cost benefit ratio in a negative manner, and it reduces the profit of farmers. So we have to design our pest management accordingly so that our cost benefit should not exceed more than 1. Next is the tolerance of pest damage. Okay, so till now we have been discussing the EIL levels, ETL levels, and all these things. So these are the tolerance of pest damage. These things comes under the tolerance of pest damage. Okay, economic threshold is the best known term and widely used. Okay, what it is? It is population density at which control measures should be implemented to prevent an increasing population. It is the basic definition of ETL. Okay, and other threshold values we will be discussing in detail in next classes. Then the next concepts of IPM, in concepts of IPM, the next point is leaving a pest residue. This is very much important aspect, because the whole concept of management resides upon this concept only. Like, we have not to kill all the population which is available to us. We have to leave a particular population which is not harmful to us. Okay. We have to suppress a pest but not annihilate the pest. The next concept is the timing of the treatment. It is very important. It is very crucial problem in successful pest management. If we want our IPM module to be very much successful, we have to adjust the timings of treatment accordingly and in a very coordinated manner. Like if you want to control the adults, then you have to use the pheromone traps. If the insect is in a larval stage, you can't go for the pheromone traps. If you are noticing more larvae in the field, then you cannot go for the pheromone trap. If you want to control the adult stage, only then you have to go for the pheromone trap. In this manner, you have to adjust the timings of your treatments. You have to coordinate the timings of your treatment so that it comes out in a very much effective way. Now, the seventh concept is the public understanding and acceptance. What is the use of the technology which our public cannot accept? The same thing is happening with the BT crops. Although we have those technologies, although it is people are becoming more aware about that thing, but still it is not totally accepted in the public areas. So it is not having that much utility in the pest control. Actually, it is having potential, but it cannot be utilized because of non-acceptance of public. Next slide deals with the requirements for successful conduct of pest management. So here are some requirements which has been enlisted. It is very much easy. Like you have to just remember it by point wise only. That is correct identification of pest. It is very much important. Like you have to identify correctly the pest. Then the knowledge of life cycle and seasonal behavior of pest, how it behaves, what is its life cycle, what are the crucial stages of its life cycle, and how it is formed, what is the nature, where it is formed. For targeting that insect, we need to know all these things. Then the host range of pests, whether it is polyphagous, monophagous, and their relationship with the host plant. Habits and behavior of pest has to be determined. Mobility and capacity of pests for reinfestation. This is very much important. It's okay that we can control it once, but again the infestation may come. So you have to think about reinfestation too. Natural mortality factors like predator, parasites, pathogen, the tritrophic interaction. Then crop value is also important. It is also very much requirement, like integrated pest management, whatever tactics you are including under the integrated pest management, that should not exceed the crop value, otherwise it will have no implication. Then the consumer pressure, like what our consumer wants, we have to satisfy their needs. And then survey and detection. Survey and detection is very much required for the IPM, because without that you cannot go for the development of prediction models. Then selection of management options. It is very basic requirement for the successful conduct of pest management. Then the farmers' participation and government support. These are the on-ground factors. On-ground factors that can affect the conduction of the pest management regime. If farmers are not participating, if farmers are not coordinating, it will be very hard for us to do anything. And if we are not getting government support, government aids, then the problem will exist with the extension portion. And if there is no use of a technology, if we cannot take it to the ground level, and if we cannot reach it out to the persons who need it. Now, this is our last slide, which just enlists the advantages of IPM. Till now, you would have got a clear picture of what is IPM, what are the concepts, why it was needed, what are the major objectives. And with all those understandings, you can easily understand the advantages of IPM, why we are going for it, why we are, what profit we will be going to get after following the IPM approach. The first one is the more efficient and low price method. It is very much efficient and it is very much low price, because it helps in management. Our basic concept is that we have to maintain the CB ratio more than 1. It delays the development of resistance, obviously, because it goes for the integrated approach. So it minimizes the use of pesticide, therefore it delays the development of resistance. And also it leaves a particular population in the field to survive, to thrive. So there is no pressure upon that particular species that it has to become resistant towards that insecticide. Then the fourth point is the minimizes the residue hazards of pesticides. And the fifth point is conservation and utilization of local knowledge, export of agricultural commodities. And the last one is reduces pest upset and pest resurgence. Okay. These two terms are very much important, pest upset and pest resurgence. We will discuss it in the next class. Hope you will search for these two terms and you will try to figure out the differences between them. Otherwise, I will deal with it in the next class. Our next class will also contain some, this class was totally, majorly focused upon the subjective portion of the integrated pest management. There are some questions framed from there can be some objective questions framed from this portion, like initial, that origin of IPM concept and all those slides. From there, some bits can be framed, but this class mainly focused upon the subjective portion. But in subsequent classes, as we'll proceed, I will more focus upon the objective portions, because this class was needed because it will help you in developing the basic concept of IPM and understanding the IPM in a more holistic manner. So from next classes, we will deal with objectives too. And whatever home assignments I have allotted to you, hope you will try to find it out. Otherwise, we will surely discuss it in the next classes. If there is any question or there are some doubts or some feedbacks, please unmute yourself and say it.
You can ask any question, any doubt. Anybody, students? Pranaya, Charita, Lokesh, Preeti, Rupa, Raj, Akila, Vikas. Anybody? So no doubts, no question. Then we can wind up it.
Okay, sir. Let's find it up.
Okay, ma. Thank you, Pragna.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, ma. Thank you. Bye.